Now we're going to hear a story from someone, and who is that person?
That person is Rika from Germany.
That's right. Rika is going to tell us about one of her many hobbies.
Many hobbies.
네, 리카 씨도 그동안 이야기를 통해서 자기의 이야기를 좀 자신의 여러 면을 보여줘 왔는데 취미도 굉장히 많은 것 같고요. 뭐 네, 스케이트보드 이야기도 전에 한 적도 있고.
Right.
네, 그런데 오늘은 뜨개질 이야기를 해줄 거라고 해요.
Oh, I didn't know she
네,
knits.
yeah, I didn't know either. 한번 들어볼까요?
리카 씨,
나와주세요.
When I was younger, I had a lot of hobbies that I would call more or less common, like playing piano, reading books, doing a lot of sports. But recently, I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique, and I'm talking about knitting. I have made many connections with older ladies in buses and trains and waiting at the doctors because they have seen me knit and wanted to talk to me about it, which I thought was really nice every time. I've made some really cool connections. But I discovered this hobby because I wanted to make something handmade for my family and friends over Christmas last year. And I've made a sweater, I've made blankets, a scarf. It's very calming and a lot of fun. It's also a challenge, so I can only recommend it. I love knitting.
네, 뜨개질을 좋아하시는 분들이라면 많이 공감하실 수 있는 이야기가 나왔어요. 네, 자 그러면 리카 씨가 어떤 이야기 했는지 한 줄 한 줄 공부해 볼까요?
Okay, so the very first thing that she said is, when I was younger, I had a lot of hobbies that I would call more or less common. When I was younger, I had a lot of hobbies that I would call more or less common.
네, when I was younger. 사실 이야기를 할 때 정말 많이 나오는 말이죠. When I was younger, when I was little.
When I was small even.
네.
I've heard people say when I was a child, when I was a kid.
맞아요. 네,
Yeah.
when I was a kid도 정말 많이 나오고요. 그래서 어렸을 때 I had a lot of hobbies. 취미들을 많이 가지고 있었는데 그냥 여기서 문장이 끝나는 것이 아니고 어떠한 취미인지 뒤에 설명하는 거죠. That I would call. would라는 거는 여기에서는 이제 그럴 의향이 있다. I'm willing to call or I would choose to call.
It's
네.
more like her thinking, I would say,
That's right.
maybe that they are like this.
네,
Right.
사실 would가 용법이 굉장히 많아서 우리가 이야기할 때 I would often go meet my friends 이런 형태로는 예전에 something that you used to repeatedly do. Yeah.
Right.
그런데 여기서는 예전에 뭐뭐 하곤 했다가 아니고
Yeah.
그럴 마음이 있다 또는 그럴 수 있겠다라고 생각이죠.
And we use it for people a lot too. So if you're like, oh, how has your sister been? Well, I would say
그렇죠.
that these days
네.
she's a bit sad,
네.
you know.
이런 경우도 가능해요. I would say that Megan is a good friend of mine. 이렇게 I would say, I would call 이렇게 말하겠다라는 말인데 I would call 이 취미들을 어떻게 부르겠는가 하면 more or less common. 다소 흔하다고 할 수 있는 취미들이 있었대요. So talking about more or less, so a lot of people just memorize this as a package, like more or less means 다소.
More or less, yeah.
네, 그런데 more or less 사실 뜻을 좀 뜯어서 보면 이해하기 더 쉬워요. More common or less
Or
common?
less common, yeah. So it's kind of like when you don't know exactly, what you would say, but it's like, more or less around. I would say
네.
maybe it's common.
맞아요.
Yeah.
네, 그래서 대략적으로
Yeah.
그래서 완전히 absolutely common도 아니고
Right, but
뭐-
it's absolutely not uncommon.
not uncommon도 아니고 약간
Yeah.
중간쯤을
Yeah.
유지하고 싶을 때
Yeah.
when you want to stay neutral about with your opinion, you say more or less dangerous,
Yeah,
more or less safe,
beautiful.
more or less beautiful. Okay, from now on, I will call you, or I will say that you're more or less pretty.
And I would call you more or less intelligent.
Okay, let's settle with that. 네, 뭐 그 정도로 만족하기로 하죠. 서로 more or less pretty, more or less intelligent. 완전히는 아니고.
Right.
Not very. Just
But then
more or
also not.
아,
Just in the middle.
okay,
kind
in
of.
the middle.
Yeah.
아닌 건 아니니까.
Yeah.
완전 뭐 예쁘지 않은 거 아니고 intelligent 아닌 거 아니니까 만족할 수 있겠죠? 다음 문장.
Like playing piano, reading books, doing a lot of sports. Like playing piano, reading books, doing a lot of sports.
네, 다소 흔하다고 할 수 있는 more or less common 할 수 있는 그런 hobbies, 취미들의 예를 들고 있습니다. 피아노를 치거나 책을 읽거나 doing a lot of sports, 다양한 스포츠를 하는 거죠. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so in the next one, we first have to take a look at the clip, so let's watch.
But recently, I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique. But recently, I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique.
A little bit fast.
A little bit, a
You
little
definitely said it a little bit fast.
bit. A tiny bit.
I would say that you said that sentence more or less fast.
여러분, 메간 선생님과 제가 이렇게 문장들을 소개하면서 앞에 나왔던 그 문장에 들어갔던 단어들을 그 다음 문장, 그 다다음 문장 소개하면서 많이 활용을 하고 있거든요. 그런 부분들 잘 캐치하실 수 있는지 잘 한번 주의 깊게 살펴주시고요.
Yeah.
방금 전에도 she would say that
Yeah.
it was a little bit fast.
Yeah.
어떤 내용이었죠?
Okay, so she said, but recently I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique.
recently 먼저 보면은 recently가 있지만
Right.
T 발음하는 사람은 거의 없고
Yeah.
네.
We say it with a D usually.
네.
Recently.
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 네, 거의 D 발음도 N처럼 recently,
Recently.
이렇게 발음이 되고요.
yeah.
여기서도 그렇게 발음이 됐습니다. I've developed a hobby. Develop a hobby. This is an interesting combination too. 취미를 개발하는 거잖아요.
Yeah, but in this case, she's mean that it wasn't just something she said, I'm going to do. It was something she kind of maybe just stumbled upon. Like she
맞아요.
tried it and she was like, oh, this is kind of nice. So she just kept doing it, and it developed into a hobby.
That's right.
It was made into a hobby.
네, 사실은 오늘부터 갑자기 이 취미를 시작해야겠다라고 생각한 것이 아니고
Right.
그냥 한번 시도를 해봤는데 살짝 발을 담근 것뿐인데 develop 된 거죠. 발전된 거고 개발된 거고 또는 전개가 되었을 때 이렇게 조금 자연스럽게 흘러가서 취미가 되었을 때 develop 아주 잘 어울리는 단어입니다. That I would say 또 나오고 있어요. That I would call, that I
Yeah,
would say
say.
is a little bit unique. 뭐 단어 자체들은 어렵지 않지만 a little bit unique.
Yeah, a little bit unique. A little bit unique.
네.
A little bit unique.
이 연음되는 부분 a little bit unique 찾아보시면서 다시 두 번 들어보시죠.
But recently, I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique. But recently, I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique.
And what is her unique hobby? And I'm talking about knitting. And I'm talking about knitting.
네. 그리고 제가 말하고 있는 것은 knitting입니다. 라고 뜨개질입니다. 라는 뜻인데 일단 발음부터 보면 K-N-I-T인데
Knitting? Knitting?
네. K가 발음이 안 되죠?
Right. So it's just knitting.
That's
The
right.
K is silent.
silent. 묵음입니다.
And I do wonder, in Korean, is knitting, do you have two different types of knitting?
아, 글쎄요. 뭐
We have crocheting
crocheting.
and knitting.
knitting. What's
Knitting-
crocheting?
Okay, crocheting is when you only have one tool
Uh-huh.
and you weave it through like this with a hook, and then knitting is when you have two.
아, 그렇군요.
Yeah.
knitting 보통 뜨개질 하면 이
Right.
knitting을
You
말하죠.
have two, yeah.
We're talking about knitting.
Right.
Well, when people say 뜨개질, people just refer to knitting.
To this one, right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, is there a way that you determine between the other one? Crocheting?
십자수 말씀하시는 것 같아요.
okay.
십자수, 자수인
Right.
것 같은데요. I'm not familiar with the other term,
Right.
but I am familiar with knitting.
Okay.
네, 그래서 오늘은 뜨개질에 집중을 하자면 자수 말고 그 발음도 knitting, K가 묵음인 것도 물론이고 뒤에 나오는 T도 knitting, ring처럼 됐어요.
Yeah, knitting.
네, 그래서
knitting.
네, 오해할 수 있는 게 needing, you need something. I mean,
Right.
everybody needs things.
Oh,
but
or you could be kneading, like kneading bread.
아하.
What cats do, they knead. They go like this.
네네네.
Yeah.
반죽하는 거죠.
Yeah.
kneading. 그렇지만 여기서는 짧게 발음된 knitting.
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 네, 뜨개질입니다. So let's talk a little more about how she started.
So in the next one, I have made many connections with older ladies. I have made many connections with older ladies.
I have made connections. 그런데 many connections. connection은 뭐 인맥이라고 할 수도 있겠고요. 뭐 연결 또는 뭐
Yeah. So
연관.
it just means that you've met many people. If you've
그렇죠.
made connections, you met many people who maybe share the same hobby as you.
네,
Yeah.
아주머니들과 많이 make connections 그냥 쉽게 생각해서 많이 알게 되었어요. 그런데 어디에서?
in buses, in trains, and waiting at the doctors. In buses, in trains, and waiting at the doctors.
네, 버스 안에 앉아서 또는 기차를 타고 가다가 and waiting at the doctors. 여기서 말하는 at the doctors라는 것은 뒤에 at the doctors office가 생략이 되어 있죠. at the doctors. 뭐 at the hairdresser's shop
Yeah,
뭐 이런 것도
At the
빼고.
hairdressers,
네.
at the doctors,
At the doctors.
at the babysitters.
At the babysitters?
Yeah.
Babysitter's
house.
I see.
Yeah.
I was always just, thinking about babysitters coming to your own place.
Sometimes a lot of the times we take our children to the other person's house as
I
well.
see.
At
I've
the
never
babysitter.
actually had that
Oh.
service. 그래서 babysitters라고 doctor 뒤에 apostrophe s 붙이면은 뭐 병원 그리고 아까 hairdressers 하면은 미용실, babysitters라는 예를 들어주셨는데 이제 그 아기를 맡기러 가서 그 집을 말하는 거죠. Okay, let's move on.
Because they have seen me knit and wanted to talk to me about it. Because they have seen me knit and wanted to talk to me about it.
네, 왜 이들과 커넥션들이 생겼는가 하면 왜 알게 되었는가 하면 그분들이 제가 뜨개질하는 거를 they have seen me knit 보셨고 and wanted to talk to me about it. 그 뜨개질 이야기를 하고 싶었다는 거죠, 아주머니들이. Alright, this is fairly easy.
Fairly easy, yeah. So the next one, she said, we find out what she thinks about that. Which I thought was really nice every time. Which I thought was really nice every time.
네, 매번 정말 nice 했던 것 같아요 라고 했는데 nice는 여기서도 여러 가지로 번역할 수 있어요. So,
Nice. She thought it was okay. She thought it was fun. She
Yeah.
thought it was nice.
네.
She enjoyed when they talked to her,
그렇죠.
basically.
재미있었다고 번역을 해봤습니다. 그냥 그 경험 자체가 싫지 않았어요. She
Right.
did not hate that experience.
Right. She enjoyed it.
맞아요. 물론 nice를 다르게 생각을 해서 the people, the old ladies, they were nice 하면은 친절하신 거고
Right.
상냥하신 건데 여기서 말하는 것은 every time, whenever they talked to me, the whole situation
was nice.
Yeah, nice.
And we use nice to describe a lot of situations. So, I went on a date yesterday. It was nice.
It was nice.
Yeah.
뭐
Not
물론-
saying he was probably nice if it was nice, but in
맞아요.
this case we mean we enjoyed the date.
네, 데이트를 어젯밤에 했다 그러면은 he was nice 하면 그 사람이 친절하고 상냥했던 거고요. 그 다음에 the date was nice 하면 I had a good time.
Right. I had a great time.
좋은 시간을 보낸 거죠. In this case, the experience was nice. And then
I've made some really cool connections. I've made some really cool connections.
네, 여기에서도 make connections라고 하는 표현이 다시 등장을 하고 있습니다. 저는 really cool connections를 그동안 좀 만들었어요. 즉 정말 흥미로운 사람들을 만나게 되었어요. So she made connections with people that she would never know.
Otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Besides that. So
That's
that is
right.
pretty cool, to get context with some older women.
그렇죠.
Okay, and the next sentence is, but I discovered this hobby because I wanted to make something handmade. But I discovered this hobby because I wanted to make something handmade.
네, 그런데 I discovered this hobby. 이 취미를 갑자기 시작한 것이 아니고 알게 된 거죠. Discovered it.
Discovered. So she
Yeah.
probably was looking online and then was like, oh, knitting.
Oh.
Yeah.
그렇죠. 그런데 왜? Because I wanted to make something handmade. 네, 무언가를 손으로 만들고 싶어서 이 취미를 발견하게 되었다고 했습니다. So she wanted to make something handmade. Let's talk about handmade just a little bit. So something handmade is something that you made with your own hands.
Yeah, something you made with your hands. So it could be cards or certain like clay sculptures, bracelets, anything that you make and don't buy at the store basically
네.
is handmade.
네, 그래서 뭐 한국어로도 외래어처럼 핸드메이드라고 많이 쓰는데 이 문장 자체를 여러분이 스스로 만든다면 혹시 만드실 수 있을지 please think whether you would be able to make this exact sentence on your own. 손으로 뭔가 만들고 싶다라고 할 때 제가 가장 먼저 떠올린 문장은 이거였어요. I wanted to make something with my own hands. 좀 그런데 길잖아요.
Yeah, it's a little bit long and it seems a little bit unnatural
맞아요.
because we have the word handmade.
네.
So I wanted to make something
네,
handmade.
그래서 아주 간편하고 그리고 확실히 의미가 전달될 수 있는 이 단어가 있는 거죠. I wanted to make something handmade, not factory made or
Right.
made by somebody else.
Something special and unique.
오케이, 자 그러면 누구를 위해서 만들고 싶었을까요?
For my family and friends over Christmas last year.
That's right.
For my family and friends over Christmas last year.
네, 언제? Last year, over Christmas, 작년에 크리스마스 때 가족과 친구들을 위해서였대요. Okay, so what did she make?
And I've made a sweater, I've made blankets, a scarf. And I've made a sweater, I've made blankets, a scarf.
네, 스웨터를 하나 만들었고요. 그 다음에 I've made blankets, 담요는 여러 개 만들었고요. And a scarf, 스카프도 하나 만들었대요. 구체적으로 좀 숫자가 달라지고 있습니다. And then, how was the experience?
It's very calming and a lot of fun. It's very calming and a lot of fun.
네, very calming이라는 것은 calm 하는 것 자체가 침착하고 고요한 거잖아요.
Right.
네.
But in this case, when we say it, we mean, something that kind of de-stresses you. Something that you do and that makes you feel relaxed.
네.
Yeah.
calm하고 이제 calm이라고 형용사로 쓰게 되면은 어떤 고요한 곳, 조용한 곳을 말하는데 calming 하면 동사에서 온 이제
Yeah.
그 ing 형태죠. 그래서 calming 마음을 침착하게 해주고 and a lot of fun 재미있다고 합니다. Interesting. And then let's move on to the last one.
Okay, and the final one, we first need to take a look at the clip, so let's watch.
And it's also a challenge, so I can only recommend it. I love knitting. And it's also a challenge, so I can only recommend it. I love knitting.
Okay, so let me just read the sentence for you in case you missed what she said. It's also a challenge, so I can only recommend it. I love knitting.
어떻게 말했는가 하면 It's also a challenge라고 했는데 앞부분이 It's also 해서 so-so처럼도 들려요.
It's also.
It's also. It's also.
It's also.
네.
It's salsa?
salsa? 살사가 이제 소스라는 말인데 원래는
Alright.
이제 살사 소스가 있죠. 그래서 It's also a challenge. challenge라는 것은 도전이기도 하지만 꽤 어려운 것을 가리키죠.
Right, so anything that's difficult, you can also say is a challenge. Doing math is a challenge.
That's right.
Yeah.
그래서 그냥 너무 쉬우면 재미가 없잖아요.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
also a challenge.
Yeah.
꽤 어렵기도 해요. So I can only recommend it. I love knitting. 그래서 정말 추천해요. 저는 뜨개질이 정말 좋아요라는 말인데요. I can only recommend it이라는 말은 추천만 할 수 있다라는 뜻으로 번역하면 조금은 어색해지고요.
Yeah.
뭐 반대하지 않고 무조건 추천한다란 말이에요. 100%. Right?
Yeah, so that means it, well, she says it in the next part. She really loves knitting, so she's meaning I really recommend this or I highly recommend it.
Okay, so that concludes the story by Rika, and we'll have to review the clip, right?
Okay, let's take a look at it 2 more times.
When I was younger, I had a lot of hobbies that I would call more or less common, like playing piano, reading books, doing a lot of sports. But recently, I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique, and I'm talking about knitting. I have made many connections with older ladies in buses and trains and waiting at the doctors because they have seen me knit and wanted to talk to me about it, which I thought was really nice every time. I've made some really cool connections. But I discovered this hobby because I wanted to make something handmade for my family and friends over Christmas last year. And I've made a sweater, I've made blankets, a scarf. It's very calming and a lot of fun. It's also a challenge, so I can only recommend it. I love knitting. When I was younger, I had a lot of hobbies that I would call more or less common, like playing piano, reading books, doing a lot of sports. But recently, I've developed a hobby that I would say is a little bit unique, and I'm talking about knitting. I have made many connections with older ladies in buses and trains and waiting at the doctors because they have seen me knit and wanted to talk to me about it, which I thought was really nice every time. I've made some really cool connections. But I discovered this hobby because I wanted to make something handmade for my family and friends over Christmas last year. And I've made a sweater, I've made blankets, a scarf. It's very calming and a lot of fun. It's also a challenge, so I can only recommend it. I love knitting.
리카 씨 감사합니다. 그러면 뜨개질과 관련해서 또 재미있는 표현들 배우러 가볼까요?
Okay, it's time for Street
Smart.